The Gemara in Bava and Aleph says, Tanar Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Yore. What does the word Yore mean? Shemore es habrios la'atiach gagosein ulahachas es perosein la'asos kol torchein. The word Yore, the reference to that first rain, it teaches the people la'atiach gagosein to like kind of finish their roofs, to make sure it doesn't have any leaks, to bring in their fruits, and to do everything they need to get ready for the rain season. Davar acher, another explanation, shemarve es haaretz umashka tahom. That it's marve from the language of like saturating the earth, umashka tahom, and it waters it up until the depth. Shnemar talmeha rava nachas geduda revivim temugogena tzamcha tevarech. From the language of talmeha ra, the pasuk saying that it like waters the ridges and its furrows, and it makes everything grow, and it should be a blessing. So we see that the language of Rava again is the language of watering or saturating. Davar acher, another explanation, Yore. What does the word Yore mean? Sheyored benachas ve'ena yored bezah. So that it comes down nachas calmly and it doesn't come down in anger. This says the Gemara, O eno Yore ela shemishres apirus umashaves azram. Well, maybe actually Yora means that it makes the fruits come off the trees, and it wipes away the plants, and it destroys the trees. Meaning, how do you know that the word Yora means that it falls down benachas? Tamalomar comes teach us malkosh, because it connects Yora to malkosh. Ma malkosh lebracha, ab Yora lebracha. Just like the malkosh rain is for a bracha, for blessing, so to the Yora rain is for blessing. Says the Gemara, malkosh ela shemapeles abat and mishabres leos and malas sakan. Well, actually, maybe the malkosh rain is really that it knocks down the houses, it breaks down the trees, and it brings up all these worms and things that you don't want to grow up. Tamalomar, it comes teach us, Yore, ma Yore levracha, just like Yore is levracha, af malkosh levracha, so too the malkosh is lebracha. Says the Gemara of Yore gufa minalan. Well, again, how do you know that Yore is for bracha? So because the pasuk says, "Ivnei Tzion gilu v'simchu b'Hashem," that the people of Tzion, they rejoiced, they were happy in Hashem Elokechem, their God. Kinasan lachem es hamora litzdaka. He gave them the mora, this mora rain litzdaka for good, for righteousness. V'yorad lachem geshem mora malch b'risha. And again, the rain that fell was the mora malch b'risha in the beginning. So we see that the word mora is clearly used in this context for good rain, that is for positivity. So the Gemara now continues. Tanar Rabbanan Yora b'Marcheshvan and Malkosh b'Nisan. So the Gemara says that we know that Yora is in Marcheshvan and Malkosh b'Nisan. Atom Yora b'Marcheshvan and Malkosh b'Nisan. Is that true that Yora is Marcheshvan and Malkosh is Nisan? No, we know that Yora b'Tishrei and Malkosh b'Iyar. Or maybe the Yora is really in Tishrei and the Malkosh is in Iyar. Tamalomar b'Ito. Says the Gemara, no, b'Ito, that it has to be in its proper time. So the proper time is that Yora is Marchesh and Malkosh is Nisan. Says the Gemara, what's the language of Malkosh? What does that word come from? So Amar Rav Nihali bar Ezi, Amar Rav Shmuel, Davar Shemal Kishosein Shal Yisrael. It's something that's mal, like circumcises the difficulties of Bnei Yisrael. Meaning if the rain comes and teaches them to kind of cut off their bed. Debei Rabbi Yishmael Tana, Rabbi Yishmael taught, Davar Shememale Tfua B'Kasha. Now it means that it fills up the Tfua B'Kasha while it's still hard, while it's still on the stalk. But Masnisin Tana, in the Bryce, they taught Davar Sheyored Al Malilos Balakash. And it's something that falls onto the grains while they're still the shafts and the grains while they're still in the ground. Period. Tana Rabban, and the rabbis taught Yorov Marchesh and Malkosh b'Nisan. That Yorov is Marchesh and Malkosh b'Nisan. Atam Yorov Marchesh and Oeno Ela b'Chodesh Kislev. Is Yorah really in Cheshvan or is in Kislev? Tamlomar b'Ito. Right? Yorah Malkosh ma Malkosh b'Ito af Yorah b'Ito. Just like Malkosh is b'Ito, so too Yorah has to be in its proper time, which is Cheshvan. Tani Ida. We have a different brisa. Yorah Marchesh and Malkosh b'Nisan. Divir Meir, right? Meir says that Yorah is Marchesh and Malkosh b'Nisan. The Chacham say no, Yorah b'Kislev. That Yorah is actually in Kislev. So ask the Gemara, Man Chachamim, who are these Chachamim who think that Yorah is in Kislev? Amar Rav Chisda, Rav Yossi. Rav Chisda says it's Rav Yossi. The Tani we learned in the Brisa, Ezehi Ravia Rishona, which is the first Ravia, the first part of the rain. Habachira b'Shlosha Marcheshan. The Bechira, the very first rain is in the third of Marcheshan. Beinin is b'Shivabo. the middle Revi'ah rain is on the 7th day. Afela, and the last one, B'Shiva Asarbot, is on the 17th. Those are the Meir. So Meir thinks that all three of the Revi'ah rains are in Cheshvan, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 17th. Rabbi Yehuda Amar B'Shiva Ubi Yadzayin U'Esher V'Shlosha. Rabbi Yehuda thinks they're also all in Mar Cheshvan, but on the 7th, on the 17th, and the 23rd. Rabbi Yossi Amar Rabbi says B'Yadzayin U'Esher V'Shlosha B'Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Yossi says that really the Yorah rains are the 17th, the 23rd of Cheshvan, and then on Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That's why we see that Yossi holds that Yorah is also in Kislev. V'chein hayar Yossi Omer, and so Yossi would say, Ina Yechidim Misanin at Yegia Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That the Yechidim, the individuals who are going to fast when there's no rain, they're not going to start fasting until you reach Rosh Chodesh Kislev, because that's the sign that all the Yorah time has passed and there's been no rain. Amar Rav Chisda says halacha k'Rab Yossi. Halacha is like Rab Yossi in this halacha that you don't start fasting until the beginning of Kislev, because we assume the Yorah rains can go all the way till Kislev. Amimar masni lahadar Rav Chisda baha lishna. So Amimar taught that Rav Chisda's psak halacha like Rab Yossi was on this lishna. B'shloshim maracheshen shalom sagashamim. The Bryce says that on the 3rd of Mar Cheshvan they would ask for rain. Rabbi Gamliel Amar B'Shiva Bo. Rabbi Gamliel says on the 7th of it. Amar Rav Chisda halacha Rabbi Gamliel. So Rav Chisda says halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. Says the Gemara, Kaman Azla Had Tanya Rishim Gamliel Amar Kshav Shar the Shiva Yam Mizach Arzeh Atamodim and Ravia Rishona Vishnia Vishlishis. So who does this Bryce go? The Rav Shimon Gamliel taught that rain that falls 7 days one after the other, that if you have a continuous rain 7 days one after the other, that you can count the Ravia Rishona, the Shnia, and the Shlishis. Says the Gemara, Kaman, Rabbi Yossi, that's only like Rabbi Yossi. What does that mean? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, we said before the calculation, that according to Rabbi Meir, they did, the rains were on the 3rd, the 7th, and the 17th. So that's 3 to 7 is 4 days apart, but 7 to 17 is 10 days apart. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, again, it was the 7th, the 7th, the 17th, and the 23rd. So again, between the 7th and the 17th, you have 10 days again, even though you only have 7 days between the 17th and the 23rd. But according to Rabbi Yossi, each one is literally distant 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. You go from the 17th to the 23rd to Rosh Chodesh, and that's what that's what we're saying. That this brisa is like Rabbi Yossi, because he says that the days are spaced out 7 days apart. And Amar Rav Chisda, and that's what Rav Chisda said, halacha Rabbi Yossi. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara continues, second line from the bottom of Vav Amud Aleph, Bishlam Ravia Rishona Lishol. It makes sense that we need to know when the first part of the Ravia rain is, because that's when you start asking for rain. Shlishis Lehisanos. You have to know the 3rd Ravia rain, because that's when you're going to start fasting. If the rain hasn't started yet, you start fasting so that rain will come. Shnia Lamai. Ask the Gemara, well, what do I need that middle one for? What do I benefit from knowing when the middle rain is going to be coming? So Amar Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera answers Linidarim. You need to know this for Nidarim, for making vows. Why? Ditznan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Hanoder ad Hagashamim, right? Let's say you say, I'm going to take a neder, right? I'm not going to benefit from this until the rains come. So Mishiyar de Gashamim ad Shaterid Arvia Shnia. That phrase is referring to from the time the rains fall until Ravia Shnia, until the second Ravia. That's what we need it for. So the first answer why we need to know what the Ravia Shnia is, we need to know it for when you take a neder, a regular neder, to say that until it rains, we assume you mean until the Ravia Shnia. That's answer one. Rav Zvid Amar, Lezesim. Rav Zvid says, no, we need it for the olives. What does that mean? It's not, we learned in the Mishnah. So when is every person allowed to eat leket, shech, and pei? Leket, shech, and pei are the things that are left in the field for the poor people, right? So when is everybody else, not just the poor people, allowed to eat those? Mishayelchu hanemushos. Once the nemushos go through the field. We'll translate nemushos in a minute in the Gemara. The peret uba olos, by the vineyards, by the grapes that aren't good grapes, the clusters that aren't full clusters. When can you start eating it? Mishayelchu aniyim bekerem viavo. Once the aniyim come into the vineyard and they left. Zaysim, when can you eat the zaysim? Mishatered Ravia Shnia. Once the Ravia Shnia came, then everybody is mutter in the zaysim. So that's what we need to know, the Ravia Shnia. Now the Gemara just wants to clarify my nemushos. What were those nemushos that you were referring to by leket, shech, and peya? So Rav Yochanan Sabi da Azli Atigra. Rabbi Yochanan says it's referring to the elderly people who would go on their canes, meaning that they would walk very slowly. Since the people who walk very slowly were able to get to the field, and even they didn't take this food, then it is permissible to everyone. Rish Lakish Amar Lakute Basha Lakute. Rish Lakish says that the Nemushos means that people came, they went through the field once, they took their food, and they came a second time. If they came twice and they still left food, then that food is now mutter to any person to eat, not just the poor people. So that's the second answer, though. So our second answer as to why we need to know Ravi or Rishnia is to know when the zaysim, when the olives are permissible to all people. Rav Papa Amar, a third answer, K'dei lahalef b'shvili harashus. When is this? Why do you know the Ravi Shnia? Because that's when you can walk in the paths of people's properties. Amar Mar, as it is taught, Master said, Mahalchan koladim b'shvili harashus. You can walk in the paths between the fields. Achateri Ravi Shnia until the Ravi Shnia fell. Meaning, up until that point, we assume that people aren't really working their fields yet, so therefore you can walk through their fields. And once the Ravi Shnia comes, you no longer walk through the fields. Ravi Nachum bar Yitzchak Amar, a fourth answer, Leva'er Peros Shvius. This is the time when you have to destroy the Peros Shvius. It's not, because we learned in the Mishnah, on Masai Nan and Visarfin, Betevin and Bekasha Shvius. And so when can you benefit and burn the grains and the leftover like stalks from Shvius? Achateri Ravia Shnia, until the Ravia Shnia, the second part of the reign of the Ravia came. My time. What's the reason for this? Because the pasuk says for the animals, the domesticated animals, the lachaya, and the undomesticated animals, that are in your lands. Anytime that the chayos, the wild animals, are still eating in the fields, you can feed your animals in the house the peros shvius. Once the chayos in the field can no longer eat, so you can no longer feed peros shvius to your animals in your house. And Amar Rabbi Avo says, "My lashon Ravia." What's this language of Ravia? Davar sheroveya es hakarka. It's what impregnates the land, is the language that it nourishes the land. Could Yehuda, like Yehuda says, Mitra baila da arahu, that the rain is kind of like the husband of the land. Shenemar ki kasher yirid hageshem v'ashalag min hashamayim. Right, when the rain and the snow falls from heavens, b'shama lo yashuv, and it won't return to there. Ki im harva es haaretz v'holida v'etzmicha, that it's going to saturate the land. V'holida, it's going to give birth. V'etzmicha, and it's going to sprout. Meaning that's the language, right? That that the revia is that it's rovea the karka, and it's like the husband of the land. Rabbi Avo says revia rishona. What's revia rishona? Kadei shetered bekarka tefach, that it should fall into the ground a tefach worth of rain. Shnia, what's the second one? Kadei lagav ba pi chavis. It's like in order to be able to seal the pi chavis. That's how much rain needs to be. Amar Rav Chisda says, Gishamim sheyardu kadei lagav behen pi chavis ein behem mishum v'atzar. Meaning Rav Chisda is saying that if there's enough rain that fell down that it makes the ground so muddy that you can use the mud to then seal the barrels and the jugs, so it doesn't have the restriction of the atzar, of the idea that I'm going to stop the rain. I mean, the curse that Hashem says I'm going to stop your rain, that we say in Kriya Shema. So as long as there's enough rain that is making that ground muddy that you can still seal the chavis, that's not considered a rain of the atzar. V'amar Rav Chisda similarly says Gesham sheyardu kodem v'yatzar, ein behem mishum v'yatzar. Any rain that falls early, meaning early in the morning, it doesn't have the restriction of the yatzar, as long as it fell early in the day before you say the psukim in Kriya Shema of the yatzar. Amar Abai, and Abai says, Lo amran ela kodem v'yatzar de urta. That's only referring to if it fell before the language of v'yatzar that we say at nighttime of Kriya Shema. Kodem v'yatzar de tzafra yesh ben mishum v'yatzar. But if it fell before you recite the language of v'yatzar, you say Shema in the morning, then it does have the restriction of v'yatzar. It's not necessarily. It could be a curse. What does that mean? Amar Yehuda bar Yitzchak. Yehuda bar Yitzchak says, Hani anani de tzafra les bahu mashasha. That the clouds that are in the morning, they don't have mamashos, they don't have mamashos, they don't have like substance. That what I do for you, Ephraim, what I do for Yehuda, your kindness is like anan boker, it's like clouds in the morning. Basically, what he's saying is that clouds in the morning are not beneficial. If clouds in the morning are not beneficial, then that can be a fulfillment of the curse, that I'm going to close up the Shemayim. Amar le Rav Papa Labai, and Rav Papa said to Abai, Amri inshi, but don't people say b'mafteach b'bei mitra when the gates of the reins are opening? Bar chamra, the donkey rider, mof sakich, should fold your sack v'gani and go to sleep. Meaning, Papa saying to Abai, but it sounds like we have a saying that if the gates are open in the morning, that it starts raining, that you should just fold up your sack and call it a day because it's going to rain all day. So we see that rain in the morning is actually a very good thing, and it is beneficial. So why are you saying that rain in the morning is not a good thing? Says the Gemara, lo kasha, not a question. Hadar kater be'eva, hadar kater ba'anani. One is talking about when there are thick clouds in the morning, then we assume it's going to rain all day and it's going to be a good rain. Hadar kater ba'anani, here with this one, it's very thin clouds, then it's not going to be a good rain, and that's what Abai was referring to, when it's thin clouds and it's not going to be a beneficial rain. Amrav Yehuda says, Tavel Ashasa de Tevis Armalasa. It is good when in a year when the month of Tevis is a widower, meaning it has no rain. Igad Amri Delo Bairi Tarbitse. Some say that the fruits won't get rained on too much. Igad Amri Delo Shakel Shudfana. And some say that we don't have Shudfana, which is basically a too much rain that's going to destroy the land. Says the Gemara, Aini, is that really so that we want Tevis to not have rain? Rav Chisda, Tavel Ashasa de Tevis ben Avlasa. Rav Chisda said that it's good for a year when Teves is a manuvel, meaning that it's there's so much rain that the ground is disgusting and dirty. We see that he wants a lot of rain. Says the Gemara, lo kasha, that's not a question. Hada aser mitra meikara, hada lo aser mitra meikara. This one's talking about where it rained originally. If it rained originally, then we don't want any more rain once the month of Teves comes. Hada lo aser mitra meikara. If it didn't rain originally, then we don't want rain once the month of Teves comes. The Amar of Chisda also says, Geshamim sheyardu al miktas medina al miktas lo yardu ein b'hem misham v'yatzar. That if rain fell in one part of the land and another part of the land it didn't fall, so that also again does not have the curse of v'yatzar, meaning it's not a full curse that I'm going to stop the rain because one part has rain. Ein, he says the Gemara, is that really so? V'aksiv v'gam anochi manati asem zageshem b'ol shosh chadashim. Lekatzir, that it says Hashem says I'm going to prevent the rain from coming to you for the next 3 months of the harvesting. That I'm going to bring rain on one city and not going to rain on the other city. That I'm going to bring on one part of the city and I'm not going to on the other part. Yehuda Marav says Shtein Leklala, that both are a curse, meaning both the city that got the rain and the city that didn't get the rain is a curse. So what are you talking about that it's not a curse if one part gets it and one part doesn't? One part of the city gets rain and one part doesn't. So he says Lo Kasha. It's also not a question. Hada asa tuva, hada asa can be baile. This one's talking about if it came too much rain. If it's excessive rain in one place and no rain in the other place, neither one's is a bracha because too much rain is not good and no rain is not good. If it came can be baile, if it came was necessary though, if the proper amount of rain came in one place, then that place is a bracha, even though the other part is not a bracha. Amar Rashi, Rashi says deka nami. This is also meduyak. It also sounds like in the pasuk that says timater. The pasuk is timater tehe makom matar. It should be a place of rain. That sounds like it's excessive rain. The whole place should be a place of rain. That's too much. Now we see from here that that's what it's referring to.